Good evening, New York 14. My name is Rene Castellanos, and I'm with the Office of Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Thank you all for joining our webinar for this demonstration of the IRS's new direct file tool. Just a few notes of housekeeping before we begin. Please use the Q&A feature to submit your questions. As always, we are going to prioritize questions from constituents from New York 14. So when you do so, please mention your neighborhood when submitting your questions. Otherwise, you can email your questions to aoc.townhall@mail.house.gov or call the number 718-662-5970. Our staff is also available to support any technical difficulties, as well as monitoring the phone and the email inbox. For today's webinar, we are going to hear an introduction from the Congresswoman, followed by a live demonstration of the IRS's direct file tool by Maurice Vinton, who the Congresswoman will introduce shortly. And we will have a question and answer portion at the end of the webinar. Right now, I'm going to turn it over to Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez.
Thank you so much, Renee. We are so very excited to be hosting this webinar today. And hello to all of our constituents in the Bronx and Queens who are joining us today. And I'll be introducing her shortly, but a huge thank you to Maurice Vinton of the IRS Direct File Program, who's helping out all of us today walk through this really exciting new opportunity for all of us. So I'm sure if you have joined this webinar, you're already aware, but this year, for the first time, we are rolling out an IRS direct file program. So that means that if you are used to filing your taxes through TurboTax or H&R Block or any of these kind of online services, and you have to pay an arm and a leg to file your federal taxes or your state taxes, you can now do that with the IRS, with the federal government for free online. And we're going to show you how to do that today. We're really excited about this. It is right now only a pilot program. And so only a couple of states, about 12, have been admitted to the pilot program so that we can, work through it all this year. And hopefully, if it's really successful, this will be able to be rolled out to the rest of the country. So thank you for considering to use it. And we're already getting really positive feedback about the tool so far. Additionally, if you do not normally file your taxes this year or in other years, because maybe you don't make enough money and you don't need to, this year we are rolling out a renewed child tax credit program. So if anybody kind of remembers during COVID, when we had the child tax credit checks that would come monthly, there's a smaller version of that that has been reauthorized. And if you file your taxes this year, you may be able to get more money than usual. And so even if you don't normally file your taxes, I would definitely take a look, see if you qualify for the renewed child tax credit. And you may want to file your taxes anyway in order to get that check back. And so we're incredibly excited about this. It was a long time coming because there were a lot of lobbyists that were trying to prevent us from starting a program like this. And it's one of those really great examples about when good governance wins. And it's good governance all the way from helping people file their taxes directly without having to pay an arm and a leg to the amazing technologists that have built this tool for the public and for public use to be as easy and smooth as possible. So on that note, I'm going to hand it off to our representative from the IRS, Maurice Vinton, in order to walk through the direct file program and show you how you can do this on your own. So Maurice, take it away. Oh, I think you're muted.
There we go, found it.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. So yes, my name is Maurice Vinton, and I'm the Deputy Director of the Direct File Project this year. It's such a great opportunity to be here and to talk to you about Direct File and what we're up to this filing season. And it's really great to partner with New York, which we'll talk a little bit more in just a couple minutes. So I'm just going to kind of talk about some of the foundational aspects of this. So Direct File is a pilot. We are live right now accepting tax returns from tax filers in 12 states. Direct File is available in both English and in Spanish. It is been built in with multiple languages from the get-go. So it should be a seamless experience for both English speakers and Spanish speakers throughout. This is an IRS product. If the IRS is going to do a tax product, accuracy matters a lot. That goes without saying. And so Direct File is an accurate product that really wants to make sure that, all of our users receive the benefits and the credits that they are eligible for. We're a secure product, and we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Direct File has been built with users from day one, which means we're consistently iterating the user experience based on user feedback. So we are ongoing in both English and Spanish, reaching out to taxpayers to understand how their experience went and how we can make that experience even better for them. We say that every new week is Direct File's best week because we've released a new product every week with upgrades. So for this pilot season, we're available in 12 states. Obviously, New York is one of them, and we're delighted to be here this evening. And some states are states without income taxes, and New York is a state with income tax. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. Basically, we've only had a few months to build Direct File and to also have establish these partnerships with states. And so for this pilot year, we're starting small. We're starting small in terms of the number of states that we've partnered with, but also in terms of the scope of the product itself. What that means is that we don't handle all tax situations, and we want to be very upfront with that. Our goal here is to get the right people to use Direct File and to have a good experience. And so Direct File is not for everybody. And so what this slide talks through is the scope of the tax scope for this year to cover the tax situations that we cover. Essentially, we would call this kind of, tax filers with pretty simple or straightforward tax situations. So you earn wages or Social Security income, but also are eligible for tax credits, really important poverty alleviation tax credits, such as the earned income tax credit, the child tax credit, and the credit for other dependents. So these are very important credits. And so it's a priority for our team to ensure, even with the limited time that we had, that we were to prioritize these credits. And same with deductions. So we cover these 3 deductions. The standard deduction is pretty straightforward. So no to itemizing if you use Direct File. But that's kind of what our tax scope looks like for this pilot year.
Marisi, real quick,
Yeah.
could you hit the presentation button and sort of make it to where it's just the presentation? I think we're seeing the PowerPoint.
Yes, sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you so much.
Last time I did this, yeah, no problem. Last time I did this, it didn't work. So I actually just have one more. Can you see the slide at all or not?
We can still see it. Yep.
Okay, great. Because last time I did this, it didn't work. So I would rather use some. I'm just going to talk a little bit about our customer support, and then I'll move on to our website. So our customer support is staffed by IRS customer support agents who are trained in Direct File. It is available to users 7 days a week, 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. The slide's actually out of date, Eastern Standard. And then on the weekends, these final 2 weekends and last couple weekends, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, as we hit the final stretch of filing season. So our customer support is live chat only, primarily live chat. So what that means, it's available on a mobile device or on a laptop, and you can just really quickly and easily talk directly to an IRS customer support agent via this live chat feature. It's built into the app, and it's really straightforward. It's been a great pilot, actually. We didn't think that this would be possible for our pilot year, but this is our primary channel. And we've had very low wait times. Even when we're very busy, it's been less than a minute. And so live chat has been a great feature for direct file and for the wider IRS modernization and transformation program and efforts. However, our live chat does not answer questions, about an IRS letter or an IRS account. These customer support agents are trained for direct file only. I'm just going to share a couple more things before I get into the demo itself. And Renee, can you confirm that that's working all right?
Yes, so I see the web page right now. Yep.
Fantastic. So this is directfile.irs.gov. This is the homepage of DirectFile. Essentially, what this does, this is where we tell people to go. You'll be able to see. I just talked through eligibility. You're able to check your eligibility. There's a quick little video that talks through the experience of DirectFile and what it's like as a user. And you'll see that DirectFile is available in both English and in Spanish. And so it's pretty straightforward. If you've already created an account, you can log back in to DirectFile. But what we direct people to is eligibility screener. So this is what I just talked through on a slide, but we have a step-by-step way for individuals to see if they're eligible. This is really important. As I mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that, the right people who really, who are eligible for DirectFile are the people that are using it. And so this is a very straightforward way for people to come and for you all to come to see if DirectFile is right for you. So directfile.irs.gov is the place to go for that information. And then you'll also see we have some reminders kind of at the top there about, when tax filing season ends and things like that. So that is actually, I'm going to go back to that really quickly. I had mentioned earlier our customer support chat. So this is that chat button. So it's built in right there. If I were to click on that button, I would be connected to an IRS customer support agent who can answer your questions. So once you get into the app, you can see that there and ask your questions. It's pretty straightforward. All right, so DirectFile, it's a tax form. So instead of making you watch me type my tax form, I'm going to just quickly in the background play a video so you can see and feel the experience of DirectFile. So as I mentioned, DirectFile was designed with users from day one. So every screen, every word, every checklist, this is our checklist, so you can kind of come back and reference where you are, find where you are in the journey, see what's incomplete, and continue to build your tax return before you hit submit and finalize it and hit submit. But every single kind of bit of DirectFile has been user tested to make sure that it's plain language, that the words are easy to understand wherever possible. Even some complicated, this is taxes, so even complicated tax words and phrases we've tried to break down. That's actually something that we are continuously doing, is if we continuously get feedback about it, and we'll make it even easier. But you'll see in a second that there's if you have got a question about a word, there's a way to pop up, what does this mean? So there's ways throughout, kind of tooltips throughout, to help users understand some of the more complicated features or questions that you're being asked. You'll also see that DirectFile does ask you a lot of questions. When I mentioned accuracy earlier, there are no shortcuts for DirectFile. We really want to make sure that you're getting the right benefits and credits that you deserve, and so therefore are eligible for. So therefore, we ask we ask all the questions that are required to help determine that. But DirectFile is question-based, so it also helps you make these determinations yourself. You'll be able to, it helps you kind of understand whether or not you have your filing status, like what filing status you should use. It also helps you determine and make sure that your dependents are you're getting your benefits for your dependents. So that's kind of how direct file works throughout the entire product. Just a couple more points I want to make as this kind of plays in the background. So in addition to working with users from day one, we've also worked to make sure that direct file is accessible to all users with different accessibility needs. We've had a partnership with the National Federation for the Blind from the early days. What we wanted to do is make sure that we were building a product that works for individuals with visual impairment, that works for different types of access needs. And so that is something that we're very proud of. And, as a team, direct files, as a direct file team, what matters a lot to us is that, this isn't one person's job. Accessibility is something that it matters to the entire team. It's not a work stream. It is embedded to the core of direct file. And so that is something that matters a lot into how we've approached this work. And similar with our Spanish language version. So our Spanish language version from, we've included insights from our Spanish language research and users to inform the product week on week. And then finally, it's one thing to say it's easy to understand in English, but we've also tried to ensure that in our Spanish version as well. So you can see on this, direct file made a determination, that you're around your filing status, and that was based on the information you provided. So it's more than just a form, it tries to help you get to the right answer. And I'm just gonna jump ahead to a couple of features that are relevant to this audience. What you'll see at the end once you submit your taxes is, and it looks a little bit different, this video is slightly outdated. As I said, we're updating this week by week, is, once you file your federal return, when you're in New York, you'll then want to go on to file your state return. This is an incredible partnership that the IRS and the state of New York have. New York, for a long time, has wanted the ability to file a federal return and then to hand over information to make it easier for New Yorkers to file their state return. So once you file your federal return, you then what you'll then want to do is to create an account with the New York State and essentially accept to transfer your data from the federal return and then input that in to the New York State return. It's a seamless transfer. It's basically, once you give permission, it's a seamless transfer of information over that New York State return. So this is important, obviously, not only to the IRS, but also to New York to make sure that, everyone's completing their filing obligations, but also it's just been a great collaboration and a great partnership with the state. So that's what that looks like. And I will share that URL. When you use direct file, you see it. Just a number of things up here. There we go. And so this is what kind of the experience for, so it's also fairly straightforward to use. And so this is that experience, and you create your account over here. You don't need to know that URL. If you use direct file, that the final screen will take you there, but it is a very straightforward and a good user experience on the New York side too. And so that's it for the walkthrough and for the demo, and also a little bit about the New York tool. Back to you, Renee. Oh, you're on mute.
Pardon. Thank you so much, Marisi, for that wonderful demonstration of the direct file tool. As promised, we will now move on to the Q&A section of the meeting. If you're on Zoom, you may use the Q&A section or feature to submit your questions. Of course, please mention which neighborhood you're a resident of, as we, as I said before, prioritize New York 14 constituents. So I'll go ahead and ask the first question, Marisi. If you would give me 1 second. So this person asked, if you did not file your taxes in the past couple of years, do you still have the option to file for those sort of past years with this new program?
So you'd be able to use directfile, but I would also recommend to your friend that they look into other. So directfile files your 2023 taxes only. So I would recommend that to look at other products or other ways with the IRS. There's multiple programs with the IRS, such as VITA. There's a number of options where you can file previous years, prior years tax return. So for directfile, it is just the 2023, but there are other products that the IRS has in partnerships that would be able to file prior year tax returns as well.
Sounds good. Sounds good. We have another question. Is there a sort of an income limit with this particular program? I know that there are other sort of tax filing things that require you to have at most this sort of ceiling of an income. Is there something like that with us, or?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a question we get a lot. With directfile, there is no hard limit. However, directfile is not, I wouldn't say that directfile is available or would be available for, or the right product for individuals who are high earners. When you go to the eligibility screener, and actually I can pull that up right now, you will see that there are certain stipulations for certain earners based on your income, but we have no hard and fast rule because, again, it goes back to your tax scope and your tax situation. That's what determines eligibility, essentially. But sometimes when you get into more complicated situations, you might not be eligible. And so what I can do is show you on this page. The different types of income, and then there's an entire section on the directfile site that talks about if your income exceeds $125,000. And so again, there's no hard and fast rule to this because it's about your situation. However, due to tax scope, sometimes it might not be the right product for you.
Thank you. The third question that we have, is it possible to file an extension using this directfile tool?
It is not, because directfile is a pilot, is truly a pilot this year. The last day of filing season for the state of New York is April 15th, and that's the last day we'll be taking new returns. However, for individuals who have filed and have had a rejected return and want to update it or fix whatever information that caused their return to be rejected, we will be open until the 20th for those users. At that moment in time, again, because this is a pilot, we are truly going to be going back to explore pilot evaluation and how this went down, how the pilot went, so that way the Department of Treasury and the IRS can make decisions about the future of directfile.
Great. The fourth question that we have for you is it possible to upload documents through directfile?
For this year, it is not, unfortunately. Again, we just had a few months to build this, and so it is information that you would manually type in. However, we are looking at improvements even imminently, like in the next 24 hours, where there might be some information from prior filings, like your AGI, that you could potentially pull in. But for this year, there's no document uploading, and it's because it's new from every user, you'll be typing that information in for the first time.
Can someone file both federal and state taxes through this tool? I know that you probably just addressed that, but just in case someone has missed that question.
Yeah, I'm happy to chat. So we are currently available in 12 states. 9 of those states are states 8 of the states are states without income taxes. And the other states are New York. So I briefly shared the URL there so New York, Arizona, and Massachusetts. What happens in those situations is the user, you would go to that state's tax website and you'd create an account there. And then you would accept to transfer your information over to your federal return from DirectFile into that state tool. A lot of the questions are the same to kind of help pre-populate that and to give you a boost over there, or to help import that data and give you a boost over there. In the other states without income taxes, there's no state tax filing obligation. So yes, in California, you also get that information and put it in as well. So we are available in 4 states with income taxes, and the others do not have income taxes.
Right. What if someone lives both in New York or does work in another state? Those sort of specific situations. This tool, at least in New York State, you have to be working and living here, correct? Okay.
That is correct. And every state's like that.
I see. Okay. Does this tool offer storage as a repository for tax returns if we file using this tool to save our tax returns for each year, such as other vendors like H&R Block?
So if DirectFile is extended into future years, you would, so let's actually take a step back. So if you were to use DirectFile for this filing season, that information will be available to you for at least a year, until April 2025. So we are going to make sure that if you want to download that PDF and have access to that information, absolutely. If DirectFile is extended into future years, we absolutely would love to see, but again, we would love to make that available, where you could just import your information from the prior year. However, those are just things we're exploring right now while we do our pilot evaluation at the end of the season. So we're kind of like, it's something that would be neat to do. But first we need to get through pilot evaluation and then a final determination as to whether or not this extends. But it is a feature that I think we would love to see if it's possible.
What happens if the submission has typos, for example, with Social Security or name spelling, et cetera? Can it be easily corrected after submission, or do you have to do a whole sort of inquiry with that?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So if your return has been accepted, then if your return's been rejected, then you can absolutely go back in and edit it. If you have not submitted your return, you can absolutely edit throughout. So if when you looked at that, when I did the demo and you saw the checklist screen, you can actually go back into each bits of your tax return to update it. A lot of times people don't have all the information they need in front of them at once. And so you can come back and come back out, go in and come back out to fill more information as you go, as well as edit it.
I see. How is this different from websites like 1040.com?
So I'm not necessarily familiar with that. So DirectFile is a way to file your taxes for free directly with the IRS. It is, if that's an option that people want to do. It is something that, it's fairly straightforward and it's for free. There's a lot of options on the market, and we are one of them.
I see. So the next question that someone had submitted, do we need to sign up for an ID.me to use this tool?
DirectFile does require, so the IRS requires individuals creating an online account to use ID.me. And with DirectFile, essentially that is the same process. So you do need to create an account with ID.me. The benefits of creating the account with ID.me is that once you're kind of in through the IRS, front door, essentially, you can also access your online accounts with the IRS, which is helpful when you're looking for information such as last year's AGI as you're completing your tax return. And so, so once you do create that account, then you're able to file your return on DirectFile.
A question that I had sort of when you were talking about the eligibility was that could people who have sort of these individual tax identification numbers, the IDEN numbers, could they use direct file to file their taxes or complete their tax obligations?
Absolutely. ITIN users are eligible for direct file.
Sweet. So this is something that a lot of people I feel have a little bit of a hesitancy for, and so it's great to know that this service is open to folks with IDEN, obligations. The next question is: this person had lived in New York for almost the entire year and worked remotely for a firm based in Illinois. Would this person be eligible to file with direct file? I don't think Illinois was in the list of the 12, correct?
Illinois is not in the list of the 12. So it depends on if there's a filing obligation in the state. So if you have a filing obligation in multiple states, you're not eligible for direct file. But where you reside and where you have a filing obligation, so if that is New York, then that is where you're eligible. And I don't want to get into too many specifics beyond that because I wouldn't want to give the wrong advise in the wrong way. But it depends on where that filing obligation resides.
Does one need a W-2 to use direct file, or can you also use a 1099 self-employed income?
So for this pilot year, not all users need a W-2, but the most do, because you might have unemployment insurance or unemployment benefits or other sorts of income. However, for this pilot year, we do not accept, it's not within our tax scope to do 1099 self-employed. So for this year, it is wage income and W-2 predominantly that, those are the filers that are predominantly using direct file.
I believe you touched on this part a little bit earlier, but filing an amended return, is that allowed on direct file? Were you able to hear me?
Sorry, I'm able to hear you. I'm going to get back to, because that would require from last year's. So,
Right.
Yeah, so no, because it would be, so we only would be doing this tax season. And so no, you would not be able to do that.
I think this might be one of the last questions that we asked, but what are the accessibility features that are available through the tool? I know that you touched a little bit about how easy it was, how you could use it on the mobile phone as well. But if you wanted to talk about a little bit about the accessibility features, that'd be great as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So in addition, to being essentially available to use on laptops, to phones, to iPads, to whatever phone that you use or device that you use, we've really taken accessibility to kind of the core of what we do. So there's certain standards that government has, 508 compliance, which is a number of specific requirements, and direct file actually goes beyond that. So we've done multiple sessions with users who are visually impaired, and so you're able to use direct file with a screen reader actually quite easily, which has been, we're thrilled with that experience. But essentially it is something that we've kind of designed and built into the product, is all, we've met and exceeded the standards for accessibility and accessible users throughout the product.
I see. And something else that you had mentioned, earlier is that, in addition to the accessibility tools that it has, this app or this service keeps on getting, renovated and updated. In particular with the languages, do you think there's going to be a sort of an increased scope of the amount of languages that are available with direct file, or is that sort of something that y'all will look in, further iterations of it?
So absolutely, I think so. One of the reasons it was really important, it's really important to launch to our Spanish users, that was a priority for us for a number of reasons, but also from a technical product perspective. When you launch with two languages, that means it's actually a lot easier to add on multiple languages. So it's really important both for our users, but also for putting, essentially putting down our foot and saying from a product perspective, we also need to do this to make sure that it's easy to expand to future years. So the technical groundwork is there. And that is definitely something that will be taken into consideration as we explore our pilot evaluation. Renee, can I just go back to your last question? I just pulled up some more information on our accessibility information. Great.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm just gonna read a little bit about some of our additional features. So when I mentioned we talk a lot about accessibility, but just to put a finer point on that, we established from early on that if this product was not accessible, we would not launch it. And so that was a challenge in the bar that we set for ourselves. So we had specialists across the team embedded to do this. So our visual design is intentionally simple, and it presents each question to help people focus on one question and one task at a time. That's why you saw the layout as it is. There's been a lot of research into that approach being an approach that's fairly universally accessible. It's just to be able to focus on this, especially with taxes. Using that plain language and the helper text to make these tax topics that are quite complex easier to understand. As I mentioned earlier, we're continuously doing that. So, for example, there's a question about digital assets, because that is a question that the IRS asks. And people didn't really know what that meant. And so not only did we initially had a little tooltip to help define that, but people still found that was confusing. And so we went back to the IRS council to say, all right, we need to make this even more straightforward for people. And so those are examples of just, making the language accessible to people, because taxes are confusing and hard. The layouts on the product are, can accommodate increasing size. So you can scroll in, you can scroll out without breaking. And then finally, the clickable areas are large. So there's no kind of crazy chaotic menus that you could accidentally click, let's say if you're filing your taxes on your phone. And so that's on top of the other features I talked about, or I guess the other research that we did with different users with different abilities.
That's good to hear. I mean, one of the things that I hear all the time with constituent services that these tools that people use sometimes can be complicated. So, that's good to hear. We're at our last question. The last question is regarding payment. So if a payment is required for the service, what options are available to make the payment? Or when they get the returns, what options are available to kind of process that sort of payment that's required?
Yeah, absolutely. So assuming this is if you owe the IRS a payment, so because direct file is free, so there's no fees for the service. But yes, absolutely. There are multiple payment options at the end. So at the end of direct file, I don't know them. I'm sorry, I don't recall them off the top of my head. I can pull it up on the video. Should you? But yeah, absolutely. So and maybe Larry knows these, but the IRS has a number of ways that you can pay if you do owe an obligation. And from direct debit through to credit cards. And I'm sorry, actually, Larry, do you know that answer off the top of your head? I'm sorry about that. But yes, yeah, go ahead, Larry.
I was just going to say, I know that direct file, direct deposit or direct debit from your checking or savings account is possible, and that should be in direct file. I don't know what the other filing or paying options in direct file would be. I imagine credit cards or
And ours are the same as IRS, Larry. So whatever the IRS does is exactly the same. We integrate, direct file integrates to your payment system. So sorry for that choppy answer, but it's all the same ones, standard ones that the IRS would offer.
I see. I think that was our last question. Thank you so much, Marisi, for answering all of those questions. I know that getting all of them could be a little bit, sort of pulling from different directions, but that was amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you so much to everyone for the questions. If we did not get to your question, you can always email us at aoc.townhall@mail.house.gov or call our main office at 718-662-5970. If you're a constituent and you are in need of casework assistance, whether it be with the IRS or any other sort of federal agency, please go to our website and fill out a casework request. Or again, you can call that number at 718-662-5970. This brings us to the end of our webinar. As always, we appreciate your feedback, your attendance, and your engagement. Hopefully you all saw how easy and accessible and important a tool like Direct File is and can be in the future. If you have not filed your taxes yet, please, you have until April 15th, 2024 to visit directfile.irs.gov and file them for free. And lastly, but most importantly, I want to give a big thanks to our wonderful interpreters, CQ and Emily from Sign Nexus. Thank you everyone so much, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.